Hey, and welcome to the 5 days to get back on track and never fall off again. I'm your host, Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'm here with the awesome Becky, and she is going to really help us all figure out how do we stop this on again, off again track. So Becky, I would love for you just to introduce yourself to our audience and give them like a little background about you, because I know you're awesome, but they should know how awesome you are too.
Oh, thanks, Kim, for inviting me to the summit. I'm really excited to be a part of this. So I've been doing this for 13 years, and I started out as a personal trainer in the gym setting, so I was in Gold's Gym, things like that. Then later on, I shifted more to metabolic nutrition. So my focus now is metabolic nutrition, but specifically stubborn weight loss and what's going on with people hormonally, digestively, any psychological conditioning they might have, towards food, things like that. That's really where I focus now, and that's what I help my clients with. So I have a whole wide range of people I work with. I work with anybody, anyone that's looking to lose 100 pounds, 10 pounds, they're stuck, they haven't lost weight in 2 years, stay-at-home moms, athletes, triathletes, people in the Secret Service. I've got clients that are in the Secret Service. So I have people that are just the whole spectrum, every conceivable population I have worked with. Women that are pregnant, trying to get pregnant, postpartum, all of that. And they share a lot of commonalities. And one commonality that I found is whatever method that we use, it has to be totally sustainable for them. So when I teach nutrition to people, it's all about sustainability. Can you do this forever? It's not this like crash diet where you're on again, off again, and you can't continue doing it forever. And that's really what my whole practice is founded on, is sustainability and then correcting what's going on internally, so externally you can get the results that you work so hard for. And so that's a little bit about me. Go ahead.
So that's why I resonated.
Go ahead.
With you. That's why I resonated with you, because just like myself, you've seen the unsustainable practices that are preached. You've seen the unsustainable practices that our clients have this like, I must do this, and if I don't do this, it's not working. So what I was saying is, I like what you just said, because we all seen those clients.
Oh, yeah.
We all seen those clients have those like, here's my goals.
Yeah.
And if I don't eat like this, I don't work out like this, then I might as well not do it. And so what you just said is approachable. And that's what,
Right.
Ideally this 5 days is about, and ideally helping our clients realize that it's about sustainability, not about perfection.
Absolutely. And I think that, I know this is one thing that this whole summit is going to blow out of the water, is that a lot of people are under the impression that in order for them to get results, they have to use unsustainable means, because otherwise it's not going to work. So they must be starving, they must be struggling, they must be doing 1 to 2 hours of cardio a day. They must be miserable, they have to take their food in Tupperware everywhere. And that's just like, and I've lived that. I've personally lived that. Earlier on in my career, I was pretty sure that I wanted to do figure competitions. So, it was by the grace of God that I didn't make it through either of my preps. So I went through 2 preps, and when I would get to about 3 weeks out, I would get tremendous knee problems, like to the point where I couldn't even walk upstairs, so my joints were breaking down. I couldn't do it. So I tried twice, and my body said, nope. It was to the point where I couldn't even do my job. I had to be able to climb stairs in order to do my job, because I did outside sales, and I couldn't even do that. So, it wasn't like I was wimping out. I couldn't even walk. So so after having that experience, I never want anyone to go through that. I've learned it's not sustainable. And so many people think that's what you have to do. And it's not, it's terrible. It's actually going to, send you into this yo-yo dieting pattern, which can be extremely difficult to get out of. So I'm so glad you did this summit so that people can see that there's sustainable ways to do this, and it's not about killing yourself and being miserable, because it's never going to last.
No, especially, I find, and you probably have the same type of clientele, is that a holiday comes up, a vacation comes up, life comes up, and it just throws them into this like tornado that they don't know how to get out of. And that's the premise of this event. And, I know you have 10 ways to like break out of this, and I'm just so excited to hear about it, because I know you're going to drop some serious knowledge bombs.
I do. So when you invited me to do this event, I was like, okay, people love checklists. I'm going to make a 10 checklist, a 10 item checklist where people can like check off certain things. So like I said, I do have experience with extreme dieting. I was an extreme athlete in college. I ran cross country, track, I did steeplechase, I did all of the more endurance oriented things. So I'm a person of extremes, and I've learned from those extremes, and I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And, balance really is where it's at. So I made this top 10 checklist to share with all of you guys. So here are the top 10 things that are going to contribute to you falling off the wagon. And I'm sure everybody can relate to this. So number one is overly restricted diet, because when your diet is overly restricted, especially from a caloric standpoint, you're going to reach a point where you're going to have a complete meltdown, and you're going to eat everything not nailed down. And that's going to go on for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, until you hit this point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I have to go back to my diet. So then you have this like 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off cycle where you go back and forth. So we know that you need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, but you don't need to be in an extreme caloric deficit to lose weight. It should be gentle. It should be sustainable, things like that. So that's number one. So your diet is overly restrictive. Number two is, are you even following the right nutrition plan for your needs? So, for example, let's just use the keto diet, for example. So I'm not con keto because I don't want to, ruffle any feathers, because I've seen it useful for some things. But for example, if you're, a very high endurance athlete and your body runs off of carbohydrates, you try and do keto, your body's going to rebel against that and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you doing? I need some carbs. And you're going to reach a breaking point where psychologically you can't stay in that low carb state or no carb state anymore. And you're going to have a complete carb binge fest.
Absolutely.
Because it's not the fat is not the preferred food source of your body. So you have to be more it's good to be more sensitive to what your body's asking for. So that's number two. Follow the right nutrition plan for your needs, for your body. Everybody has different needs. So that's not to say keto won't work for some people. It definitely will, but it's not for everybody. Just like paleo is not for everybody. Veganism isn't for everybody, things like that.
Now, when you say that.
So, number three. So
when you say that, do you believe in seasonality? And I'm not using it like the 4 seasons, but more like, maybe for a few weeks you're keto, for a few weeks you're this, for a few weeks you're that, just at, going through different cycles? Or are you more about giving yourself that flexibility is really what you're trying to say in this second principle? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it all goes back to, what population you're working with or the type of person you're working with. So someone that might be, very insulin resistant, things like that, maybe we need to have them do something very carb restricted for a time. They're very sedentary, things like that.
Gotcha.
Whereas a triathlete, unless they've learned to be fat adapted or their body is fat adapted, they're going to need a whole lot more carbohydrate to function because they're burning so much, energy. And I've worked with triathletes that are both. I've worked with triathletes that have very high carb needs, but I've also worked with triathletes that have very high fat needs. Gotcha. So it's really going to depend on, who it is you're working with, and then being able to follow the cues that your body gives you. So that's a whole other ball of wax. Well, we can get into it in a whole other stuff.
And you just hit the nail on the head, following the clues. If you feel like crap and you're eating whatever you're eating, clearly it's not for you.
Right. If you feel awful, now granted, in the beginning of every, quote unquote diet or lifestyle change, you're going to feel like crap in the beginning because you're moving away from more processed foods, maybe you're giving up some caffeine, things like that. You're going to feel like crap, but it shouldn't last for more than like a week or so. After you get over that initial hump, then you should start feeling good. But if you feel miserable 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks into it, you're doing the wrong thing. And your body's like, hello, I can't run off of this. So ultimately pay attention to what your body says. So number 3, are you sleeping enough? When you're not sleeping enough, it's going to impair your willpower. It's going to, take it a couple notches down. So suddenly the M&M bag you have in your drawer, you start drinking it, you start drinking out of it. Whereas if you get enough sleep, you might be able to say no to it. So, sleep loss is huge. Not only that, but metabolically, it's going to impair how your body uses carbohydrates. It's going to not use them properly. You're going to be more prone to fat storage, even if you're in a caloric deficit. There's studies that have been shown, I've read recently actually, that have shown test subjects that are sleep deprived versus not sleep deprived, both on a calorie restricted diet, vastly different results in both groups. So sleep, paramount, but if you're a parent that has a young child, you kind of can't help it if you have to be up late at night. So what do you do? So the best thing that you can do for yourself is, the moms that I work with, I tell them, just when the baby sleeps, you sleep. There might be things to do around the house, but just try and get 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can. It's going to be good for your body, and you'll be more productive as the day goes on, as you care for the baby and take care of the household and things like that. So napping will help.
And there's evidence.
So number 4 is, are you hydrated? So a lot of times, go ahead.
There's evidence, or studies have been talked about. Even there's studies that have been shown about cat naps. So those 10, 15-minute little naps that you can squeeze in throughout the day are beneficial. Even if you're not a mom.
Oh, absolutely. Just 2 days ago, I took a 5-minute nap, because that's all the time I had. And as soon as I took that 5-minute nap, I woke up and I was much more productive, because sometimes you have that, you start moving so slowly, it's almost not worth doing anything. So you're like, okay, I have to stop. I have to take a nap. So, you can get 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. It's very beneficial. So, when you can find the time, get the nap in for sure. Okay, so number 4 is, are you hydrated? So oftentimes people will mix up dehydration with hunger and cravings and things like that. So that can knock you off the wagon very quickly, because you really are craving water, but instead you eat something sweet, and then you eat something salty, and then sweet, and then salty, 100%. And sweet, and then salty. And if you find yourself doing that, it's usually indicative of dehydration, more than anything else. So just get some water, and you'll find it a lot easier to stick to what it is you're supposed to be doing. Here's a good one, and I learned the hard way on this one. Number 5 is prioritizing cardio over weights. And I feel like a lot of women have been done a major misservice by being told that they shouldn't lift weights, it's going to make them bulky. They should just do cardio so they get toned and lean. And the reality is that all that cardio is going to do is it's going to make you a smaller version of your current self. So if you're unhappy with the shape of, let's say, your arms or your legs or your stomach, you're just going to become a smaller version of that. And most women, when they get there, are like, you were right, I should have listened to you, but they've got this fear of being bulky. And the reality is that most women just don't have the hormones to be big and bulky. It's just not going to happen. But the problem with prioritizing cardio is that you're going to be, creating this huge caloric, demand. You're going to burn it off. You're going to elevate hunger hormones. And then in the hours following, you're going to be like, oh, well, I'll just eat these chips, or I'll just have this snack. I did cardio. I burned it off. I can handle it. I deserve it. No problem. And then before you know it, you're through a bag of chips. You moved on to some ice cream, you're finding all these things, and it's always later at night because our willpower is a lot lower at night. So, and I've been there, I was a distance runner, I used to run extreme distances, and, if I had an hour and a half run someday or a 15-mile run, I wasn't really hungry immediately following, but in maybe 6 hours later, I was like, holy cow, I got to go to the grocery store and get everything, and you just find things to eat and you justify it in your mind. So that's going to throw you off so fast, because you're not keeping things in balance. Do I think cardio is bad? Absolutely not. Cardio is fantastic, but it has its place just like weight training does. And really, I think it's a disservice if you do more cardio than you do weight training. I mean, everybody's at different points in their journey. I mean, a beginner is going to need some cardio to build a foundation, but ultimately you should be focused on weights.
And I laugh because I want to find
so let's see.
I want to find that person who started that weights make you bulky. I want to find them. And I want to be like, can you stand in front of this camera and tell the world weights will not make you bulky? Like, I want to find them, because I still am in shock that in 2019, that is still a thing. Like, that myth has not been like knocked out.
I know, right? Like, I would love to find that person and say, like, listen, can you set the record straight? Just come over here, stand in front of this camera, tell everybody you were wrong and that's not what you really meant. You know?
Exactly.
But I think if we keep spreading the information and, you know, putting the message out, women are eventually going to feel more comfortable with it. You know, and they won't have to kill themselves doing cardio. Now, it's one thing if you really enjoy it. If you enjoy it, by all means, do the cardio you enjoy. But if you are killing yourself doing an hour of cardio a day and it's not getting you anywhere, then you're probably working against yourself more than you're helping yourself. So
100%.
That is the number 5 tip. Yeah. Okay, so number 6 is, have you visualized your end goal beyond scale weight? And this is a really profound tip that most people don't think about. So they are strictly focused on the number on the scale, and they just want it to say whatever it is, maybe 20 pounds less or 30 or 40 or 50. They haven't visualized what they want their body to look like, how they want to feel, what things they're going to be able to do. They're just trying to qualify all of that and get it to materialize through a number. And it's more than likely not going to happen, because I've had people contact me too and say, like, hey, I lost this many pounds and I'm not happy. I need your help, you know, and they're stalled or they're stuck or they don't like their body shape. So the victory is not in the scale, you know, the victory is more in how you feel, how you look, is it sustainable, how are you sleeping, and how are your cravings. And that's where we really need to define, you know, our ultimate success, instead of, oh, I lost, you know, 20 pounds or, you know, whatever that magical number is.
I adore this one. I absolutely adore this one, because you're right. Like, so many people get so fixated if that number isn't the number versus seeing themselves as that end goal.
Totally. You know, and like, we get it as women. I mean, I haven't, for myself personally, I mean, I had to get away from using the scale as a metric, because it might be one thing, but even myself included and other clients, I've weighed one weight, but I've been multiple jean sizes.
Yes.
So, you know, like, I have one client, she commented on my post like 4 or 5 days ago, named Michelle, and she's been both a size 6 and a size 2 at the exact same weight, like identical weight. Yes. And I think her weight was actually 156, and she was 156 at both sizes. And that's what people want. People want the size of the clothing or whatever. I mean, most people don't care what the scale says if they're fitting into the clothes that they want, because that's, you know, the ultimate goal. Like, we don't carry around the scale with us as like proof, like, look, I'm, you know, whatever. Like, that's not what we really want.
Right.
We want the clothes to fit. So, you know, it's ultimately about how the clothes fit and how you feel, and can you keep doing what you're doing. And number 7 is, are you overcomplicating your food prep? And that holds so many people back, because they're like, time to make all of these meals and put it away. And usually what I tell people that are super busy is this. I say, okay, listen, I totally get it. I like to cook, but I don't even have the time to make all of these gourmet meals. So here's what you can do when you're super short on time. Go to the store, get 1 or 2 rotisserie chickens, get 1 or 2 bags of, you know, salad mix, get guacamole as your dressing, and that can be you can have a taco salad basically all week long. I mean, and that's like bare bones, you know, but it's gonna taste good. You know, you can put some taco seasoning on there if you get a taco packet. But then you have taco salad all week long. Maybe you get a can of black beans, put that in there too. So you've got something really simple there, and that takes you all of 30 seconds. I mean, I've worked in office settings where I've had 0 time to prep, and I've literally come into the office with a Wegmans bag or a grocery bag with rotisserie chicken, salad, guacamole, put it in the community fridge, and then I would just make my salad, you know, when it was lunchtime, because I literally did not have the time. So it's that simple, you know, just have the pre-made things and then just, you know, take it wherever you need to go. And then you're not overcomplicating anything.
And I laugh because you're absolutely right. Like, people get caught up on the meal prep, and because on Instagram, I see all the little Tupperware laid out with all the food cooked in there, and I'm like, I'm like, I got no time for that. And I'm just like you. I'm like, I grill up a vat of chicken and I buy as many veggies in a bag, and that's my meal prep.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, I mean, and that's it. I mean, I do run a membership website where I have a fat loss menu that you can make every single week, but it's not time consuming. I mean, if people hop on my profile, I post pictures of it all the time. But the reality is the meals that I pick, it's only going to take you like maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half to prep everything for the week, because I keep it really simple. And I give them coaching directions where, you know, when you're making something, make something else. If, you know, make up your chicken, put it in the oven. While you're doing that, make up your protein muffin mix. You know, keep the oven hot, put the muffins in, you know.
Right.
Maybe one crock pot at the same time. So maximize your time, you know, so that you're not like, okay, one thing, now that's done, let's do something else. Start layering the prep on top of each other so that you're maximizing your time in the kitchen and you're not like living in there all day long. So
yeah. I feel like I'm Mario Andretti when it comes to the grocery store and meal prep. Like, I can't do anything for more than an hour. I'm like, this grocery store, I need to be in and out. Meal prep, like my husband's like, I got the stove going, the grill going, the oven going, and he's like, and I'm cooking dinner. He's like, I'm like, look, 1 hour is all the mental I got. That's all. Mental capacity taps out at an hour.
Right? That's exactly it. You know, I mean, and we do this for a living. Like, we live this stuff, but even we don't want to be in the kitchen all day long. I mean, it's just not realistic. We have other things we have to move on and do, you know? So, you know, food prep is a huge one. So that was number 7. Number 8, so we're getting into like some of the psychology of eating. Do you have good and bad foods? So when you have good foods and then you've got bad foods, like the example I always use with people is, okay, what's the fastest way to get anything done? You forbid a 2-year-old to do it. So when you say, you tell yourself you can't have something or you can't do something, suddenly you're going to fixate on that thing or that group of foods all the time, can't have it, not allowed. So then what you're going to do is a certain amount of time will go by, and maybe like it's a week, it's a Saturday, you're like, that's it. You go to the store, you get all of those foods, you binge on it, then you feel shame and you feel guilt, and then you go right back to where it was before. And people call that falling off the wagon. And that's not so much falling off the wagon as I would say that's psychological conditioning. Mm-hmm. So you conditioned yourself to feel guilt, shame, you know, things like that around certain foods. And I don't train my clients to view food that way. I let them eat whatever they want, obviously, you know, like within reason. You know, I'm not like, yeah, sure, why don't you go get that, you know.
Bring on the ho-hos and the Swedish fish.
Right, exactly. But, you know, I give them a framework, and then, like, when they want to branch out of that after a certain time, like, depends on each person. Maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 90. I encourage them. I'm like, go ahead, branch out. Let's see how these foods make you feel. And oftentimes they will say, like, that food did not make me feel good. And I said, okay, well, what do you want to do from here? And they're like, well, I don't want to keep eating it. And I said, okay, well, that's your choice. So when you make the choice to not eat certain foods based on the feedback they give your body, then you're making decisions for your health instead of, this is a bad food, this is a good food. And it's going to be different for everybody. I've got clients that can eat wheat, clients that can't eat wheat, clients that feel good on sugar, clients that can't eat sugar, you know? So it's going to be based on your unique body responses and you paying attention to that instead of trying to stuff yourself into these rules that are going to cause major psychological conditioning problems. And I work with people like that have been so psychologically conditioned, they can't even eat quote unquote healthy food without having some type of negative response because it's been forced upon them. So that's a huge, huge thing. Do not classify foods as good or bad.
Yeah. You know Chalene Johnson, and she was listening to her podcast a few weeks ago, and she said the best quote ever, and I was like, this is why I love this woman. She said, grown-ass women should stop asking for permission about what they can eat. and just
Yes.
eat. And I was like, I'm like, well, that is why I love you, because that is the biggest question I get all the time. As soon as you start a client, I'm sure you get this too. What can I eat? I'm like, what can you eat? Like, what do you like? Let's start there, and we can start, backing it back. And what you just said is exactly why people fall off the wagon, because they make a list of these foods are evil, and if I eat these evil foods, I'm bad.
When my clients choose to have whatever they want to call it, a cheat meal, I don't really get into what you call it. As long as it's going to make you feel a certain way, then that's different. You're like, let's say I've got some girls that are sensitive to wheat and dairy. They have cheesecake and they'll say to me, I know exactly how this is going to make me feel, but I'm going to eat it and I'm going to enjoy it. And then I know what's going to happen in the days following. And that's fine. That's an educated decision to me. You already know what's going to happen. Then there's no guilt. There's no shame. This is how I'm going to feel. I'm probably going to feel kind of crappy. And then they just go right back to the things that they know makes them feel good. And that takes away the good and bad category. And then, the falling off the wagon, because you truly never fall off the wagon if you've got a system that's sustainable and it works, and you have freedom to kind of eat certain things that make you feel, the best, and about also freedom to eat the things that don't make you feel the best and not have guilt associated with it. So to me, that's like the ultimate system. Then you're in control of the throttle.
Exactly.
Yep. So we have 2 more to go. So number 9 is, do you reward yourself with food? And definitely goes to when we're little kids. I was rewarded with food. I mean, I came from a very active, athletic family. I'm not saying my parents did anything wrong, but whenever I would leave swim practice, my dad would get me an ice cream cone. That was a reward. Like you did, or you go to the doctor, you get a lollipop. They do stickers now, but they've got the Pizza Hut Book It program. You read 5 books, you get a free pizza. So we've got this reward system for food already built in and ingrained into us as a little kid. So we might do it now. So when people lose weight, they reward with food. And it's I think in isolation, that's not a huge deal. I wouldn't recommend that forever to keep doing that. But the problem is when people do that, then it spirals into 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4, and you just keep going. So if you can reward yourself, maybe new gym clothes, anything, depends on how big your achievement was. A vacation, new gym clothes, photo shoot, massage, spa. I mean, really, this is what it is you want to do. So if you can change your reward system so it includes more things than food, you're not going to fall off the wagon as often.
Absolutely. And you're so right. I remember when I was a kid, I was in the cookie club, and every time we went to the grocery store, you had your own little card, and you would get a cookie every time you went to the grocery store. I wanted to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, we had that too. There was a special little cookie box where you could get the free cookie while your parents shopped, and then eventually, even at a young age, I wised up to that, and I was like, I don't think cookies are healthy all the time. So I started getting bagels instead. But, but even so, the bagel was a reward, cookie, bagel, doesn't matter. I mean, we never rewarded with broccoli. I mean, that would have been great if that was conditioned into us at a young age. Woo, you get a salad, that's not conditioned into us at all. It's cookie, pizza, things like that. But yeah, I see that a lot too. I've done it, I mean, all of these things that I've talking, I experience these things. So no means am I superhuman or immune. They always say that the best teachers are the people that have gone through it themselves. And I totally have. I've gone through all of these things. I had extreme cardio behavior, extreme restriction behavior way back in my 20s. I get it. I know what happens when the wheels fall off and then you stop functioning and your body stops responding to restriction, to running. I mean, I actually count this as a blessing, but I actually had to stop my extreme cardio habits because I suffered an injury, and that sidelined me, and thank God it did, because I kept going. It would have driven the adaptation further, harder, would have been malnourished. I mean, you name it. So, speaking from has been there, have done it. I've been frustrated. I've been mad. I've been unhappy, and how women feel. We all feel frustrated and angry, and when we put effort, and then to backfire on us. So I found that we work with our bodies instead of against them. It's a much more beautiful relationship, and just doing everything in the proper dose and in the proper amount so that you're nourishing your body instead of beating it into the ground to try and force it to give you a result. What I've learned too is that the first extreme diet you do, you are going to get a result. You're going to get a great result, actually. You're going to look awesome, whatever. Same diet a second time, it's not going to work as well. Then you're going to try it a third time, it's not going to work as well. Choose because they have restricted, they've done too much cardio, they've got all kinds of imbalances. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to work with a woman that comes to me and says, I've been eating 800 to 900 calories a day, I'm doing an hour of cardio a day, and I haven't lost weight in years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of coaches are like, she's lying. And I've learned they're not lying.
No.
I mean, these people are dedicated. They're strict. A lot of people say, oh, the law of thermodynamics, she have to lose weight. No. If you beat your body and restrict it for years and years and years, eventually your body is taught, okay, I have to learn how to function on less.
Absolutely.
So it does. So the more stimulus you keep throwing at it and the more food you take away, it learns how to do less with more, or more with less, so that it has adapted. So what we have to do over time, dial back your extreme cardio as you're slowly feeding yourself more food, and you will reach that homeostasis again. I mean, there's more steps involved, but if I had to give an overall message, it's to slowly start to feed yourself more, slowly start to dial back the intensity, and
Absolutely.
You will start to balance back out again.
Absolutely. I mean, everything you just said right there is...
And that actually brings me...
Everything you said right there is like, can we just frame that and just hand it to people, before you start working with us? Here, just read this.
Right, right, and it's funny, I mean, it happens all the time. There's women that I work with and their results are slow or whatever, and they always expect me to add more cardio. I just had a phone call with someone like that yesterday, and she's been getting results, but they've been moving slow. And I just basically said, no, we're going to stay the course. And she was like, you're not going to increase my cardio? I'm only doing it 2 days a week. I said, no, your body can't handle it. You're losing weight so slowly that's telling me that you can't handle even greater stimulus on top of what you're already doing. So we just need to stay the course for now, and just let your body keep doing what it's doing, because she's barely eating 1,100 calories. So the weight should be flying off of her, but it's not.
Right.
So, we can't add more cardio to a situation like that. And sadly, that's what people do. They
Absolutely.
mean well. They add more thinking that they're going to get the result. And if they're lucky, their body responds. Or maybe I should say if they're unlucky, their body responds, because then they think it's a good thing and then they keep doing it. But eventually that will stop as well. So it's all about just meeting your body where it needs to be met. Just give it enough stimulation, but not too much. If you need to be in a caloric deficit, have a gentle one, but not an extreme one.
Absolutely.
So and that's the basic moral of that story.
Right. And as we wrap this up, what would be, you gave amazing, I was taking notes. You gave me 10 things, and I might look at these and I got to do them all. What would you say would be the one simplest thing that anyone could start with and feel like they got a quick win?
Oh, great question. And you know what? I just realized I forgot to give you 10, and I'll give it to you fast. 10 is your stress response in check, which is everything we were just talking about. Because if your stress response is not in check, you are going to be eating everything.
Oh, yeah.
So get your stress response in check. Go for a walk, take a nap, delegate some things out to somebody else. Maybe you hire somebody to clean your house for a weekend, or maybe hire a meal prep service for a week. Get your stress in check, and you will not find yourself falling off the wagon. And I apologize if that sounds overly simplistic to somebody watching that's like, you don't know what's going on in my life. But there are certain things that you can do to make your life less stressful. Just you can find the space. I mean, maybe take a 5-minute nap in the parking lot of a grocery store. There's little things like that you can do to help just give your body that break so that you're not in that fight or flight response all the time and constantly stressed out. So
absolutely.
Number 10.
So, like I said, a lot of great ones.
I would say, thank you. If I had to, I guess, distill all that down into one major tip, it would be find a way to eat that is sustainable for you long term. Because if you can do that, it's going to help to take care of a lot of the other items on the list. So it has to be sustainable. You have to enjoy it. You have to be open to trying new things. Find that way to eat that makes sense for you. And it might not be Weight Watchers. There's some people that do terrible on Weight Watchers. There's some people that thrive on Weight Watchers, so, and don't try and pick your best friend's diet, either. Maybe they're doing Weight Watchers or keto or they're pescatarian. You can try it if you want, but don't think that this is the end all be all because it worked for somebody else, because all of our bodies are different. Everything's different on the inside. So, there's never a one size fits all. There's never going to be a savior diet. There's never a holy grail of dieting. It's what works for you, for that season in your life, basically, because everything is different for people at different times.
And spot on. And I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for your patience in our technical difficulties. And you gave some amazing
problem.
And for our viewers, I just want you to, in the comments below, we had to tape this because Becky's getting married. In the comments below, just leave any questions that you might have. And thank you so much, Becky, for all of your time, all of your amazing awesomeness. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to join us in this. And for our participants, tap into this girl's knowledge, because she just dropped some serious knowledge bombs on you. And I hope that you were taking notes, because I know I did. And thank you guys so much. And we have a whole week of just amazing women who are just going to show you that it's possible to live a sustainable and happy life. So thank you guys so much. And thank you, Becky.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.